On today's episode, we talk about a father's worst fear. Your daughter is going out with her friends and she's wearing really revealing clothing. What do you do? Let's dive into it. Hey guys, it's June Loiza from Dad Smarter Not Harder. I got a really good one for you today. So check it out. There was a post on the Washington Post titled, "Dad fears his daughter's tight clothes will attract disrespect." Oh man, this is gonna be good. Let's dive into the story real quick and then we'll give some comments about it. Hi Carolyn, this past Friday, I happened to be home as my daughter, 17, was leaving for an evening event, and my daughter and friends were all dressed in very revealing and tight dresses. Oh my God, I'm sure the dad is going crazy. Oh my God, what's gonna happen? What are people gonna think about my daughter? All these things are running through his head. What's gonna happen to her when she goes out to this party, to this bar, wherever she goes? Although she's 17, so maybe some kind of a just home party. It continues. I contained myself and raised this with only my wife, who said this is the fashion of the moment. All right, mom's being supportive. The dad's trying to contain himself. That's good, that's good. I'm worried these revealing dresses will only contribute to the objectification of my daughter. Okay, absolutely right. That is the worst fear because a man, the father, knows how men think about women. If you see a woman walking around with a tight dress, revealing clothing, you know what you're thinking about. So that's what the dad is thinking about. He wants to make sure that that doesn't happen to his daughter. Let's jump ahead. Let's see what the advice was. Okay, so the advice is here. It goes, you can promote a healthy internal dialogue by seeing the objectification of women as a problem that chauvinists create with their behavior, not that women create with their clothes. Not sure what this person is talking about. I think what they're alluding to is it's actually not a problem for the woman. It's the man's problem. The man is an idiot. Why would he objectify the women? They shouldn't be objectifying women. It's their fault. It's never your own. That's the problem here. I think I've read enough. You know what this topic is about. The father is worried. The women in his life are telling him, you know what? It's not a problem. Don't even worry about it. But you know what? The dad knows. The dad knows that this can be a problem. The dad needs to protect. The dad needs to build that foundation. Okay, so what are we going to do here? First of all, the dad was absolutely correct in not calling out the daughter right then and there, unless it's some kind of emergency, right? Unless somebody's life is in danger. But what would happen if the dad had called out the daughter right then and there and said, hey, go back to your room right now and put on different clothing? What do you think is going to happen? Do you remember that movie, The Little Mermaid? We saw it recently with my daughters, and there's this part where King Triton doesn't want Ariel to fall in love with the prince. Prince Eric, I think his name is. And Ariel's like, Daddy, I love him. And King Triton's like, no, Ariel, I'm gonna get through to you. And if this is the only way, then so be it. And he like zaps all her possessions. And of course, what does Ariel do? After the dad forbids her to love Prince Eric, she immediately goes off with Ursula in order to get legs and find Prince Eric, right? You don't want to put yourself in that position. You and your daughter in that position where you are trying to be a tyrant and controlling her. Because maybe that one night is going to work. She's going to put on different clothing and you're going to feel better. Oh, okay, problem fixed. But no, what's going to happen is that in the future, she's going to learn to hide it better. In the future, she's not going to be upfront. Instead of wearing her revealing clothing, she's going to hide it in her purse and then she's going to change later. Or she's going to change at her friend's place. That's the challenge, right? So you can't just be a tyrant because we all know that girl from high school or wherever it may be, the one with the most conservative, restrictive father, she was the one that was most wild and going out the most, right? So we don't want our daughters to be that person. Okay, so how do we accomplish this? Second of all, based on the advice in the Washington Post, which I think is completely idiotic, what you wear has consequences. What you do overall has consequences. We don't live in a bubble. We don't live in a world where we will do something, and if somebody else does something bad or thinks something bad, it's like, oh, it's their fault. I don't own it. It's not my problem. It's their problem. No. For example, I'm not going to go to Peru and walk around with a bunch of jewelry, necklace, diamonds, and my phone hanging out, walking around like a tourist. No, I'm going to get jumped. Whose fault was that? Of course, it's the perpetrator's fault for jumping me and taking my stuff. Of course, it's their fault, but it's also my fault. I need to know where I'm at. I need to know my surroundings. I need to know the consequences of my actions. Another thing, I'm reading, and check this out. I have it right here. I'm reading the Steve Jobs biography. Absolutely great book. And even though Steve Jobs is absolutely amazing, when he was younger, he had terrible hygiene. He wouldn't shower. He wouldn't wear shoes. He stunk. And because of that, he lost many deals and opportunities when he was younger. Again, what you wear has consequences. What you do has consequences. So the advice here that the objectification of women is not the fault of the person wearing the clothing with their titties hanging out, but rather it's the man looking at them. No, you gotta really be honest with yourself and understand that what you do has consequences, okay? So that is the foundation of what we're talking about. And now let's talk about the action steps and what we can do about it. First of all, from the very beginning, we need to establish a strong foundation for our children. This means we need to teach them influence, we need to teach them agency, and we need to teach them the consequences of their actions. Now, how do we do this? Influence, for example, at home right now, I teach my children that they can't take stuff from each other if they are having trouble sharing, and they both, my 6-year-old, my 4-year-old, both want something at the same time. I teach them that you have to influence the other one to share it with you or to take it, and they have to practice that. Second of all, we teach agency at home by empowering our children to make those decisions. For example, my children love to watch TV, and they know that before they watch TV, they have to clean up and they have to eat their vegetables. So no longer do they have to ask me, Papi, can I watch TV? No, you don't have to ask me anymore. I am empowering you. You have the agency, so you know that after you clean up, after you eat your vegetables, you're able to watch TV. They have the agency to do it on their own. The third is we have to teach them consequences. An easy way to do this is many parents have to just follow through with what they say. For example, I know many parents will say, if you don't clean up, we're gonna throw out all those toys. Well, the children have to realize that there are consequences to their actions. If they don't clean up, well, you have to throw out those toys, and then that's how they learn. Secondly, we can utilize the confidence, which is the C in the GRACE framework, to teach our children self-confidence so that they don't depend on the validation of others to make themselves feel good. Now, from the beginning, it's going to take time and repetition, but what I teach my daughters is that the most confident and sophisticated people don't need to wear revealing clothing in order to make themselves feel better or to make other people like them. We want to focus ourselves on making sure that we ourselves are confident in our own skin, we feel beautiful, we feel smart, we are confident, and we do not depend on the validation of others in order to give us that validation that we're smarter, that we're beautiful. Okay, third, and most important, what do you do when this happens to you in the moment? First and foremost, you don't want to be a tyrant. You don't want to call them out on this in front of their friends. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible for them, right? Because now they basically feel judged in front of their friends. Their friends are going to be like, oh, what's your dad saying, right? So you talk to them privately. Always talk to your children privately, calmly, never yelling at them. And now, instead of telling them what to do, which is the key, you can't tell them what to do. You have to teach them to figure it out on their own. That's the agency. And thirdly, you can ask them, who are you attracting by wearing that clothing, right? Who is the type of person that you want to attract at this party that you're going to or wherever you may be heading to? You know, is it the horny boy? Oh my God, look at that girl. She looks so good. I need to talk to her. Oh yeah, right? Like, are those the people that you really want to attract? Or do you want to attract somebody who respects you, all of you, not just for your body, but for your mind, your personality, for the conversations that they can have with you? So let's wrap this up. We have to teach our children, we have to teach our daughters, there are consequences for their actions. There are always consequences for their actions, whether it's right or wrong. Of course, I want to live in a world where my daughters and women and anybody can wear whatever they want without being judged. But that's not the world that we live in. We go out there, we step out there, and everyone's looking at us, and everyone's going to make a judgment call based on what we're wearing, what we're saying, what we're doing. How we present ourselves is incredibly important. We can't be a tyrant. We can't just tell our children what to do. It's like inception. We have to plant those seeds. We have to plant those seeds of self-confidence so that they grow into somebody that doesn't depend on the judgment or validation of others for them to feel beautiful or to feel smart. And lastly, ask them those questions and trust that they can make those decisions on their own. Even if you ask them, what are the consequences for you wearing that? Who are you going to attract for wearing that? What's going to happen when you go out there and you wear that clothing? And they just say, leave me alone, Dad. That's okay. You can't control them. Again, right, the short-term solution of getting them to change their clothing right then and right now is not going to work in the long run. And then it's going to be worse because they're going to hide it from you in the future. You ask them those questions, you tell them your philosophy, you tell them how you can be respected, that we want to be respected as people, and the best way to do that is to be respected in our clothing, in our appearance, and how we communicate. All right, so that's it. If you have any comments or questions, you know where to hit me up, and I'll catch you on the next one.